Real Madrid versus Atlético Madrid, El Derbi Madrileño. The Madrid derby between Real Madrid and Atlético Madrid is one of the biggest fixtures in Spanish football. Historically, Real Madrid has been seen as the establishment club, with ties to royalty and wealth, while Atlético Madrid has been the club of the working class. This socio-political divide has fueled the rivalry for decades. In recent years, Atlético's resurgence under Diego Simeone has made the derby more competitive, with the two teams frequently contesting major trophies. The rivalry is intense, with matches often turning into battles of grit and passion. Canon Yaoundé versus Tonnerre Yaoundé. This rivalry is at the heart of Cameroonian football. Canon Yaoundé and Tonnerre Yaoundé are the most successful and historic clubs in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Matches between these two teams are intense, with bragging rights for the city at stake. Historically, Canon has been more successful in the domestic league, but Tonnerre's influence on Cameroonian football can't be overlooked, especially as the club produced African legend Roger Milla. This clash symbolizes a battle for local pride in Yaoundé, and the atmosphere during the games is electric. Kolkata Derby. The Kolkata Derby is one of the most famous football rivalries in India and Asia. The two teams, Mohun Bagan and East Bengal, represent more than just football clubs. They symbolize two distinct communities within Bengal. Mohun Bagan, the older of the two, is associated with the natives of West Bengal, while East Bengal represents the immigrants who fled the eastern part of Bengal after the partition. This rivalry is not only about football, but is also deeply rooted in cultural pride and identity. Every match between these two clubs is a carnival-like event, with fanatical supporters creating a raucous atmosphere in the stands. The Kolkata Derby is often held at the Salt Lake Stadium, which holds over 85,000 fans, making it one of the most attended football games in the world. PSG versus Marseille. La Classique is France's most heated rivalry, with PSG representing the affluent capital Paris, while Marseille embodies the working-class, rebellious spirit of the southern port city. This rivalry is fueled by the contrasting cultures and regional pride of these two cities. PSG, with its Qatari owners and star-studded lineup, is seen as the team of the elite, while Marseille prides itself on its passionate working-class supporters. The fixture between these two clubs is always a fiery affair, often marred by controversy and intense fan rivalries. Manchester United versus Manchester City. The Manchester Derby has evolved into one of the biggest rivalries in world football, particularly since Manchester City's rise to prominence following their financial takeover in 2008. Historically, Manchester United dominated English football, while City languished in their shadow. However, the power balance has shifted in recent years, making this fixture even more competitive. The Derby is a battle for supremacy in Manchester, with the red half United often representing the more traditional global brand, while the blue half City is seen as the modern, newly wealthy club. The rivalry now represents a clash of football philosophies and economic power. Arsenal versus Tottenham Hotspur, North London Derby. The North London Derby is one of the fiercest local derbies in England, with Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur's fans divided by a few miles but united by their intense dislike of one another. Arsenal's move from Woolwich to North London in 1913 is the root cause of the rivalry, with Spurs fans viewing the Gunners as interlopers on their turf. Matches between these two sides are highly competitive, often filled with drama and memorable moments. The North London Derby has become symbolic of bragging rights in one of the footballing capitals of the world. Chelsea versus Arsenal versus Tottenham three-way rivalry. Chelsea, Arsenal, and Tottenham Hotspur form a unique three-way rivalry in London. While each of these teams has its own historic rivalries, the geographical proximity and competitive nature of these clubs in recent decades have made their encounters highly charged. Chelsea's rise to prominence with Roman Abramovich's financial backing in the early 2000s added a new dynamic to this rivalry, with the Blues often contesting major titles with both Arsenal and Tottenham. This three-way battle is essentially a fight for dominance in London football, with each club having its own unique identity and history. Bayern Munich versus Borussia Dortmund, Der Klassiker. Der Klassiker between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund is the most prominent rivalry in German football today. While Bayern has traditionally been the dominant force in the Bundesliga, Dortmund's emergence as a serious challenger under Jurgen Klopp in the 2010s reignited this rivalry. It's a battle between the financial powerhouse Bayern, based in the wealthy state of Bavaria, and Dortmund, a club rooted in working-class culture from the Ruhr region. Der Klassiker matches are often crucial in deciding the Bundesliga title and have produced some of the most iconic moments in recent German football history. Red Star Belgrade versus Partizan Belgrade, the Eternal Derby. The Eternal Derby is Serbia's most famous football rivalry, pitting Red Star Belgrade against Partizan Belgrade. This fixture is notorious for the intense hostility between the fans, with both sets of supporters known for their pyrotechnic displays and choreographed tifos. The rivalry has historical roots in post-World War II Yugoslavia, when Red Star was linked with the Yugoslav People's Army, and Partizan had connections to the police force. Games between these two teams are not only about football, but are also filled with political undertones and city pride. It's a match where tensions run high, and it's considered one of the most dangerous derbies in the world. Club América versus Chivas, El Super Clásico. The Super Clásico between Club América and Chivas is the biggest rivalry in Mexican football. It's a clash of cultures, as Chivas represents traditional Mexican values by only fielding Mexican players, while Club América, owned by media giant Televisa, symbolizes modernity, wealth, and glamour. This rivalry is a battle between Mexico City, América, and Guadalajara, Chivas, and the matches are often emotionally charged. Fans from both sides see this fixture as a defining moment in their season, with national pride also at stake. Liverpool versus Everton, the Merseyside Derby. The Merseyside Derby between Liverpool and Everton is one of the oldest and most iconic rivalries in English football. Known as the Friendly Derby due to the mixed nature of families supporting both teams, the rivalry is nevertheless fiercely contested on the pitch. Liverpool has enjoyed more success historically, particularly in recent decades, but Everton's passionate fanbase always makes this fixture a must-watch. Roma versus Lazio, Derbi della Capitale. The Derbi della Capitale between Roma and Lazio is arguably the most passionate and politically charged rivalry in Italy. Both clubs share the Stadio Olimpico, and matches between these two teams are infamous for their intensity, both on and off the pitch. The rivalry has roots in political and regional differences, with Roma representing the traditional city power and Lazio historically linked to more conservative elements. Juventus versus Inter, Derby d'Italia. The Derby d'Italia between Juventus and Inter is one of the most iconic rivalries in Italian football. It's a clash between two of Italy's most successful and popular clubs, and it's always filled with drama, controversy, and tension. The fixture became even more heated during the Calciopoli scandal in the mid-2000s, when Juventus was relegated due to match fixing and Inter emerged as the dominant force. Kaiser Chiefs versus Orlando Pirates, the Soweto Derby. The Soweto Derby between Kaiser Chiefs and Orlando Pirates is the biggest football rivalry in South Africa. These two clubs are based in the township of Soweto in Johannesburg and have huge fan bases that span the entire country. The matches are marked by intense fanfare with sold-out stadiums and an electric atmosphere. Sheffield United versus Sheffield Wednesday. Steel City Derby. The Steel City Derby between Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday is one of the oldest and most fierce local rivalries in English football. This derby is a battle for bragging rights in the city of Sheffield, an industrial powerhouse historically associated with steel production. The Klassiker. Ajax versus Feyenoord. The Klassiker is the biggest and most storied rivalry in Dutch football, pitting Ajax from Amsterdam against Feyenoord from Rotterdam. This rivalry is not only about football, but also represents the cultural and regional differences between the cities. West Ham United versus Millwall, the East London Derby. The rivalry between West Ham United and Millwall is one of the most violent and bitter derbies in English football. Both clubs are based in East London, and their rivalry is steeped in historical animosity, dating back to industrial conflicts between dockworkers from the two areas. Matches between these teams have often been marred by crowd trouble, with both sets of supporters harboring a deep-seated hatred for each other. Porto versus Benfica, El Clásico. El Clásico between FC Porto and SL Benfica is the biggest fixture in Portuguese football. Benfica, based in the capital city of Lisbon, has traditionally been the most popular and successful club in Portugal. Porto, hailing from the northern city of Porto, is seen as the challenger to Benfica's dominance and has been highly successful in recent decades. The rivalry is fierce, with both clubs fighting for supremacy in the Primeira Liga. Lazio versus Livorno. The rivalry between Lazio and Livorno is not as famous as the Derby della Capitale, but it is deeply political. Lazio is often associated with right-wing politics, while Livorno is known for its strong left-wing identity. Olympiacos versus Panathinaikos, the Derby of the Eternal Enemies. The Derby of the Eternal Enemies between Olympiacos and Panathinaikos is Greece's most famous football rivalry. Olympiacos, based in the port city of Piraeus, represents the working class, while Panathinaikos is associated with the affluent neighborhoods of Athens. This rivalry extends beyond football, with matches between these two clubs often featuring chaotic scenes in the stands. Al Hilal versus Al Ittihad. This is the biggest rivalry in Saudi Arabian football, pitting Al Hilal, the most successful club in Saudi Arabia, against Al Ittihad, its fierce rival. The rivalry is symbolic of a broader battle for supremacy in the Saudi Professional League, with both clubs representing different regions and fan bases. The intensity of the matches and the quality of football make this fixture a must-watch in Middle Eastern football. Nacional versus Peñarol, Uruguayan Clásico. The Uruguayan Clásico between Nacional and Peñarol is one of the oldest football rivalries in South America. Both clubs hail from Montevideo and have dominated Uruguayan football for over a century. This fixture is not just about football, but also represents the social and political divide in Uruguay. Nacional is traditionally associated with the city's elite, while Peñarol has roots in the working class. And that wraps up our deep dive into some of the most intense football rivalries around the world. From the passionate streets of Belgrade with the Red Star versus Partizan Derby to the fiery clashes in London between Chelsea, Arsenal, and Tottenham, these rivalries go far beyond the pitch. They embody culture, history, and a deep-rooted love for the beautiful game. Which of these rivalries is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the world of football. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.